Welcome back. You're listening to the Green Bean Podcast with Adrian Green and co-host
Maddie Cupcakes.
and our guest for today,
Stacy Barr.
Stacy Barr.
Stacy Barr.
So you also might know Stacy from her radio commercials advertising for the liquor store.
Yeah. Melinda and I get a little cray-cray.
Little
cray-cray. She comes up with some crazy stuff.
It's a lot of intense energy between both of y'all.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it. The one thing that she does I don't like is when she sticks the camera in my nose. I'm like, don't do that. Maddie, don't do that.
Yeah.
I think it's crude. Don't do that. There's a lot of things about Melinda that's crude. But, anyway, we are talking about Melinda Flanagan at KBSA.
Shout out.
Yeah, I just talked to her a while ago.
Oh, yeah.
She's my really good friend, but she does get me in a lot of trouble. Poor Danny.
No. So, how long have you been running Big Mike's?
We bought Big Mike's December of 2017, and we did not open it until March of 2018. So is that 6 years? Gosh.
Yeah.
Gosh.
That's awesome.
Can't believe it. And let me tell you the story about can I tell you the story about Big Mike?
Yeah.
Big Mike, there was originally a Big Mike. I don't know if everybody in Big Spring knows that or not, but there originally was a Big Mike. His name was, and I can't ever remember if it was Clarence or Cletus.
Okay.
Moore. But he had that, he started it in, we're pretty sure it was 1944, in that location on the Snyder Highway.
Okay.
He was, I think I'm telling the story right. So if there's any family out there and I don't tell it right, please correct me. But I do believe this is right. That he had 2 boys and maybe a daughter. I'm not sure. Divorced somewhere in there. They had 2 stores, Big Mike's and Sam's.
Okay.
And one of the boys ended up with Big Mike's and the other one ended up with Sam's.
Oh, wow.
And so his son that had Big Mike sold it. I believe we are the 5th owners of Big Mike's. And originally, y'all are way too young to remember this, and I'm barely old enough. I remember as a little girl, they had little things called counter checks. And so if you went in a small town, there might be 3 banks. And so they had checks on First National Bank, State Bank, and whatever other bank. And you just walked up and pulled the check out and you wrote it and you signed your name.
Oh, wow.
Well, they knew that was by Adrian Green's signature. That was her account. They pulled the money out of your account way before they had account numbers or anything like that. The story goes, this is the story I've been told, that people back then didn't want anybody to know they'd been to the liquor store.
Okay.
So Big Mike had a rubber stamp made that said Big Mike's Farm Store. And so he would pay to the order of, he'd stamp it with Big Mike's Farm Store. That way most everybody farmed back then. And so they thought that they were buying feed or equipment or whatever it was. And so it stuck, and it's been Big Mike's Farm Store ever since. People walk into the liquor store and they go, this is a liquor store. Y'all don't sell barbed wire? Y'all don't sell deer corn? We're like, no.
But
we
why
don't have any of that. Yeah. The corn we sell is fermented and distilled. And Big Mike's has been there since all these years. What is this, 2004? 80 years.
Wow.
It's 80 years Big Mike's has been there.
That's crazy.
In the same location. So it literally kind of fell in our lap one night. Real estate agent here called me one night and said, you wouldn't be interested in Big Mike's, would you? And I said, oh, no. And then I went, wait a minute. Because my husband had just made a deal to sell some land. And I went, hey, maybe we might. And I went home and told Mark, and 3 days later, we signed the real estate agreement.
Wow.
So we bought it. It was the same building that Big Mike had since 1944. It was little bitty. And then it was Mark's idea to, he said, let's build a restaurant out here because out there, there's not much,
Mm-hmm.
that intersection. And I said, he said, let's build a restaurant and lease it to somebody. I said, if we're going to build something, we're going to build us something, build a bigger store,
Mm-hmm.
and then we'll lease this. And so the next thing I know, we're building a big old new liquor store. And we built that. And then my good friend, Larry McClellan, sold out CVS. And he said, "You need to put a liquor store in over here at this building I own next to the laundromat." And I went, "No, no, we're not doing that. No." And the next thing I know, my husband had run into Larry, and he walked in and said, "We're going to put a liquor store in over there in Larry's building." And I went, "I already told him no." And there became Big Mike's Jr. And it just sort of happened, and it's great. And then, was it a year later?
I mean, it must have been a year to 6 months later that you guys got lucky.
About a year later. It was right before COVID. 2019, we bought COVID. Yeah. I mean, COVID. Hell, can we sell it? Can we please sell that?
You heard it here first.
Yeah, you heard it first. Yeah, that I bought COVID. Anyway, that stinking Leslie Elrod Hobbs gets me in more trouble. She called me and she said, "You're not going to let Buck Easy's turn into a sandwich shop, are you?" And I went, "No, no." And I knew it'd been for sale. And anyway, next thing I know, we have Buck Easy's by Big Mike. So it just kept circumstance, I guess, just by, it just happened. And I've learned a lot. I love, I did not know what a bourbon lover I was until right before we bought the liquor store. My niece got married in Knoxville, Tennessee. Met my little sister up there and her husband, Mark, and I did. We went on the Kentucky Bourbon Trail.
Oh, wow.
And this whole new world opened up to me. And 2 months later, we owned a liquor store. So I've learned a lot about bourbon. I have a very big passion about bourbon. I love it when my friends come in the store and go, "Hey, what bourbon do you want? What bourbon do you suggest I get?" I'm like, "Don't. Okay, have you got 30 minutes? Because I'm going to tell you a whole bunch of stuff about bourbon." And I continue to grow and learn about bourbon. I love it. And I love it when my friends come in and have "Oh, what kind of wine can we get?" Or what. That's my favorite part about owning the liquor store is when your friends come in and go, "Oh, I want to try this or I want to try that." And it's become a big family. I absolutely could not do what I do without my employees. I have an outstanding group. I want to give a big shout out to Taylor Johnson. She's like our adopted child. And Mark and I, and we could not do what we do without Taylor. But all of them. Every employee I have is part of our family, and we have a great time. And yes, there's days they want me to go back to Ruidoso real quick.
Hey.
Yeah, they're like, "You've been here 3 weeks. You need to go back."
I got a quick question.
Shoot.
So, like, out of everything, I mean, we kind of talk about ups and downs and stuff. And I mean, we've talked about a lot of ups in here. Are there down points?
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'm sure. I mean, I know from being an entrepreneur and starting my business. Like, I started my business and it was going good. And about the time we were rolling and really becoming a lawn care business, COVID hit.
Yeah.
And it totally took the wind out of our sails.
And see, COVID was great for the liquor industry.
Oh yeah,
I bet,
because you had nothing to do but sit home and drink.
Mm-hmm.
And but this last year was a little different one for us. It was just a teeny bit different. I think the economy's tough, and I think people still drink. People drink when they're sad. People drink when they're happy. People drink when they're broke. People drink when they're rich. It may be something different when they're broke. Mm-hmm. Maybe they were drinking Crown, now they're drinking Canadian Mist. I don't know, but alcohol is a constant, know. But we've saw a little dip this year. We certainly did, and it's been a little different. But everybody's happy when they come in the liquor store. I don't care. Everybody's happy.
I know. I mean, I had this same the liquor store conversation today with an investor about putting one in Midland on a corner lot and stuff. He asked if I would be interested in like just managing the building and leasing and all of that stuff in Midland. And I was like, I guess you bet, I mean, whatever you got. And he goes, do you think a liquor store right here on this corner would take off? And I'm like, you got to do your demographic,
Absolutely.
And I mean, particularly with your stuff, I mean, you've got three things going for you. You've got a brick and mortar liquor store, you've got a drive through, and then you've got a satellite liquor store on the south side,
Right.
which is great,
Right.
And I mean, so you're hitting your whole demographic, you're pulling in all the margins that you can out of those three
Right.
locations. So,
Yeah. I mean, somebody told me the other day, I'm working with the rodeo.
Mm-hmm.
They came in, and a couple of those guys said, we've never even driven through Buck Easy's. And I went, what? Why haven't you driven through Buck Easy's? They're not beer drinkers, but they go through Junior,
Right.
and then people that go to Junior never come to the big store.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're like, wow, the big store, if you've never been to Big Mike's, it's worth the trip.
Yes.
I mean, do you agree?
I agree. Definitely.
There's we're a little ways out of town. Yeah, it's been there a long time. But there's so much to Big Mike's. And we do try to get stuff that nobody else can get. We are learning a lot. One thing that has been great in the last couple of years for us is a barrel program. And when they first brought it to us, we were a little apprehensive. But once you get into a barrel program, it's a big deal. And they offer you a barrel of, so far all we've bought is bourbon. My next one's going to be tequila.
ooh,
But when you buy a barrel of bourbon, they bring you, the first one we did was called Heaven's Door. It's owned by Bob Dylan. Get it?
Mm-hmm.
Knock, knock, knocking on Heaven's Door. There you go. Anyway, so they brought us, I believe that was 4 samples of different barrels. And we picked the one we liked, and we bought the entire barrel. It made about 180 bottles. And on the side of it had a little sticker selected exclusively by Big Mike's. So that is a big, when you get to that level, it's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And we just got our third barrel in the other day, Buffalo Trace, and we've got another one coming in, a 1792 bourbon out of Kentucky. So we're in the running for another one. So we're getting there. They're looking at us like, hey, what's that little liquor store in Big Spring doing? And they're paying attention to us. So we're real excited about that we can offer that kind of quality of bourbon to Big Spring.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we're real excited.
I'm really glad to see that you're putting Big Spring on the map. You know what I'm saying? For something.
Well, I appreciate that. If it's liquor, that's what it is.
Whatever it is.
Yeah. But they are paying attention to us. It's an exciting deal when you can get that barrel deal. I can't wait for the tequila one. I can't wait. We're looking at one right now.
Get a hold of me.
Okay, I'll let you know about
I
it.
am a tequila nut.
Well, the one we're looking at is aged in a Blanton's barrel, so it's really exciting.
Wow.
Yeah.
So one of the things I've seen in my personal life is like the more effort I put into something, I take away from another portion of my life. Usually, like my quality time with people that I enjoy being around. Have you experienced this? You and Mark experienced that, and how have y'all been able to kind of balance that out? Have y'all balanced it out?
We're fortunate. I'm going to go back to my employees. I have an amazing group. I mean, there's a handful that come and go, but we've got a really solid core group. And Mark and I don't do anything that we don't do it together. He may not be at the liquor store every day, but he knows what's going on, the big picture, I feel like we've just gained more relationships through the liquor store and through our connections in Big Spring than we have lost anything. It things continue to grow. Friendships, we've met people at the liquor store that come in every day, or not every day, but once a week.
Right.
The same guys. Hey, Stace, how you do? That kind of deal.
Mhm.
So yeah, we're just a big Mike's family out there, um, and it just continues to get better and better and better. That's all I got to say about that.
All right. So that seems like a good place to take a break. And when we come back, we'll talk more with Stacy about um, Big Mike's and running a business, and any advice you might have for anybody who's looking to start anything.
Oh gosh.
So you're
Run.
listening to the Green Bean Podcast with Adrian and Matt.